Lesson 5-5 Ratios. The big idea is the quotient of two measures with the same type of units is a ratio. So I want you to make a note of this. It is two measures with the same type of units. So feet over feet is a ratio. Remember, if we have dollars per night, that is what we call a rate. Okay? This is a ratio, has the same units. This is a rate, has different units. Okay? It says a ratio is a comparison of two quantities with the same type of units. For example, A to B is written A divided by B. Similarly, the ratio B divided by A compares B to A. Notice the difference between a rate and a ratio. In the rate, A per B, the units for A and B are different. In a ratio, the units are the same. So as I was saying earlier, 40 kilometers per 2 hours is a rate because it's kilometers per hour. Kilometers to kilometers is a ratio. Okay? Example 1 says, it takes Max 1/4 of an hour to ride his bike to school. And it takes Riley 21 minutes to walk to school. Write a ratio comparing Max's time to Riley's time. So, we have Max time divided by Riley's time. Okay, that equals, well, how long does it take Max to ride his bike? It says it takes Max 1/4 of an hour, which is 1/4 of an hour. Okay, it takes Riley 21 minutes. So we can do this one of two ways. We can convert Riley's time to be of an hour, or we can convert this 1/4 of an hour to minutes, because we're in hours over minutes, and that's not a ratio. We need minutes over minutes. So 1/4 of an hour is the same thing as saying 1/4 times, we got to get rid of hour. Okay, so I put hour on the bottom. 60 minutes on top. We're just doing a conversion. And we're still over 21 minutes. So 1/4 times 60 is like saying 60 divided by 4, which is, my hours are gone, we should all know is 15 minutes. All over 21 minutes. Okay? Now, you can see if this will reduce down. Okay? I've showed you before on your calculator. You can find some number that goes into both of these, which we all know is 3, or you can do it on your calculator. Okay? I know 3 goes into 15 and into 21. So 3 goes into 15 5 times. And 3 goes into 21 7 times. Okay? So, it takes Max 5/7 of his time, 5/7 of his time than it does Riley to get to school. Okay? Moving on, ratios and percents. Ratios can be expressed as fractions, decimals, or percents. In example 1, 5/7 is equivalent to 0.714285 repeating. So you could say that it takes Max about 71% or 71 over 100 of the time it takes Riley to go to school. While in this book we distinguish rates from ratios. In the real world, some ratios are called rates. In money matters, the tax rate is the ratio of the tax amount to the selling price. So as you can see right down here, I got tax rate is equal to the amount of tax divided by the amount of the selling price. Okay? The discount rate is the ratio of the discount to the original price. So discount rate equals discounted amount divided by original price. Okay? So, moving along. A TV that normally sells for $400 is on sale for $340. The tax on the reduced price is $23.80. So the total cost with tax is $363.80. Okay? A says, what is the discount rate? So if you go back here to your notes, which you should have in your notes at this point in time, discount rate equals discounted amount divided by the original price. So, what is our discounted amount? Well, our original price was $400. Our discounted amount is $300.40. So it's discounted amount divided by the original price. My discounted amount is $340 divided by 400. You put that into your calculator, and what we're looking is to get out a percent. So we take 340 divided by 400. You hit equals, and it gives me 0.85, but that's not a percentage. To make it a percentage, you move it 2 units to the right, which then gives you 85%. Okay? B says, what is the tax rate? Well, if you remember from your notes before, it's the amount of tax divided by the amount of the selling price. In this case, the amount of my tax was $23.80 divided by the selling price. Well, my selling price, since it was discounted, my selling price is now $340. It's not $400. If you have something on sale, you only pay the tax on the sale price. So this is my selling price, $340. Okay? So once again, go to your calculator. 23.80 divided by 340. And you get 0.07, which is equivalent to 7%. So, up here, you only paid 85% of the original price. Down here, the tax rate is 7% of the original price. So C says, including tax, how much would a customer save by buying the TV on sale? Well, this should be fairly simple. You take 400 and you subtract $23.80, and it's equal to, sorry, not $23.80, $363.80, pardon me. And you would tell us that you would have saved $36.20. All right? Using ratios to set up equations. When two numbers are in a ratio, A to B, they are also in a ratio Ka to Kb, because A divided by B is equal to Ka divided by KB. All you're doing is multiplying that number by some value. Now, it could also be the same thing as dividing by some number, okay? Because K could also be like 1/4. So in essence, for example, the ratio of boys to girls in a band is 7:6. The ratio is also 14/12. All they did was multiply by 2. And 21/18. All they did was multiply by 3. If you know the original ratio, then you can multiply the number and denominator by the same constant and never change the value of a ratio. Directions for mixing foods or chemicals are frequently given as ratios. You can use equations to determine actual quantities from the ratios. So let's look at example 3, and I want you to pay very, very much in detail of how I write this out, because you are going to have to do the same thing on your quiz and on your test. Okay? So, one internet site warns painters, always, always, always make a note of the paint ratios when you mix paints. In painting a pink wall, Bethany mixed 1 part red paint with 3 parts white paint. How much of each color will be needed for a wall that will use about 5 gallons of paint in all? So here's what you need to do. You're going to take your red parts plus your white parts and equal it to total gallons. Okay? So, how many red parts is there? Well, there's 1 red part. How many white parts are there? There are 3 white parts. Notice I'm still just calling them parts. Okay? We don't label them as red parts, white parts. We're just labeling them as parts. And set equal to the total number of gallons, which is 5. So watch what happens. 1 part plus 3 parts equals 4 parts. Okay? So 4p equals 5. So I got to solve for p, so I divide by 4. So p is going to equal 1.25, or what is 1 1/4. Now, how is that going to affect you to figure out how much paint you need to, how much paint you are going to use of each? Well, up here for my red paint is equal to 1 part. Well, 1 part is equal to 1 times 1.25, which is equal to 1.25 gallons. Okay? Now, for my white paint, my white is equivalent to 3 parts. So 3p. 3 times 1.25 is equivalent to 3.75 gallons. Now, as you see here, what you should notice is 1.25 gallons and 3.75 gallons equal 5 gallons. So now we have the correct amount that we need to put into our gallon of paint, or your 5 gallons of paint, to make sure you get a pink color and not a red color, or too light of a pink color. Okay? So let's look at another one of these. To paint a house light green, you want a ratio of 1 part green to 4 parts white. Find out how much of each color you must buy if you need 12 gallons of paint. So once again, I got to do my parts deal. I got 1 part green plus 4 parts white has to equal 12. Okay? 1p plus 4p is 5p equals 12. Divide by 5. P is equal to, if you take 12 divided by 5, that gives you 2 2/5, okay, which is the same thing as saying 2.4. Okay, everybody with me? So now I need to find out how much green I'm going to use. Okay? And you can leave this as a fraction. That's going to be fine. Okay? That will not hurt you. 2/5 will not hurt you. So when we go here, 1 part green. So 1 times P for my green is 1 times 2 2/5, which is equal to 2 2/5 gallons of paint. Okay? For my 4 parts white, this was green, this was white, I have to take 4 times 2 2/5. Okay? Now, go to your handy-dandy calculator. 2.4 times 4 is 9.6. If I wanted to write that as a fraction, I hit math, fract, hit enter, 48/5, okay? Which that tells me it's 9 3/5, right? Everyone agree with that? So this is 9 3/5 gallons. Now, let's see if it worked out. If I add these together, that's 11. 2 plus 9 is 11. And 2/5 plus 3/5 is another whole, so that's 12 gallons. So yeah, it worked. So that's a good way that you can check to make sure that you got your answer correctly. Once again, pay attention to these last 2 examples. They're very important for you to be successful. Thank you and have a good day.